Hello and welcome back to the Turnout. I am your host, Aloy. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification, all those wonderful, wonderful things. Um, yeah, so I'm about a week late on this. Is apparently what I am. Um, oh my God, so many very busy things. My kid had his birthday, and oh man, just a ton of things that are just very, very time consuming. But the good thing is that I am here. We did not have an episode this past weekend. So even though I'm a week late, I'm not an episode behind or anything. So let's discuss this episode. We're going to be talking about episode 10. If you saw my thumbnail, obviously, for this video, you kind of have an idea as to what I kind of think about some of the stuff that was happening. But at the same time, I kind of dug this episode. So just a spoiler right up front. I thought it was a pretty good episode. So hey everybody who's showing up, let's start discussing. So the last thing that happened the last episode was we had a cliffhanger, which was it started raining scorpions because they had unleashed the bad things from the prison. And I know that last time I said I don't believe that they're going to do anything with it, because the last cliffhanger that we had that was very, very similar didn't mean anything. So I was like, well, we'll see, I guess, what this one means, because it could just mean nothing again, and they'll just be like, hey, it was fine, we dealt with it. Remember that time we dealt with that world-changing phenomena? Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. And just make it all happen off screen. But and hello to Brandon and Alyssa, who have just shown up. So yeah, so I was like, okay, it could just be that. I'm happy to say it was not. So we start 6 days later after it stopped raining scorpions. And, I like the setup for this episode quite a bit. They did a good job of kind of stating the stakes right up front, like making them very clear to us. Like the girls are being kind of run ragged. They have to like pull vanquishing duty on these weird demons that are coming out. And see, first off, I want to say that these are the types of demons that I'm completely okay with vanquishing. These are just ones that all they are there. They're just there. They're there to kill people, and like that's it. So like there's no gray area in this season anymore, in this show anymore. It's just like, oh, no, we're totally just we're vanquishing the kind that it's totally okay to vanquish. I don't know, it's just my thought. But anyway, at the beginning of the episode, we see that Macy handled number 183. And anybody else likes math. Like as soon as I see numbers, I start just throwing out math. Like that means that they were doing about 30 monsters a day is what they were vanquishing, which means that means more than one monster per hour. Like that's kind of ridiculous. And it probably started off slower, and probably started off one every couple of hours, and then it started, once every 4 hours, and once every 5 hours, one every, and it started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So that's a lot. Like one an hour, and sometimes more than one an hour. That's a ton of them. So yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. Just because again, I like numbers, and that I think is a good number. Like honestly, over 6 days, if they had said it was like, oh, it was 400, it's just like, okay, come on, it hasn't been 400. 183, I think, is a good enough number to show us that yes, it is difficult, but it's not completely overwhelming yet. Then again, if it was like 100, we'd be like, yeah, even that was bad, but it's not as bad as what it could be, I guess. So, it's like that. So, God, I'm like spending a lot of time on the numbers here. I'm going to move on. But what this also means is that this is them splitting shifts, which means they're all they're taking shifts and handling these monsters, which means these are all like lower powered monsters, which means like, they can, cool, it's your turn. Now it's your turn. Now it's your turn. And it's like, it's okay because they're all pretty lowered monster. But then what happens when you have a monster that has to be handled by two? And then let's say you have multiples of those. What happens if you need the power of three? That's where it's going to start to get sketchy. But I mean, maybe not, because that's not you guys know how the episode ended. We'll see. But this is just my wheel spinning. Okay, this is pretty interesting. So Macy comes back from vanquishing somebody and wakes up Maggie, who complains about school. And I'm like, hold on, is the blood red moon and the raining scorpions that were on the news, like, is this only stuff that the charmed ones can see? Because, like, at the beginning of the episode, they had like this weird like centipede demon, and it kept coming in and out of visibility, which I don't know if that was cinematically in an effort to tell us that Macy sees the demon but the mortal doesn't, the human guy doesn't. But basically, because if this is like weird phenomena that's happening all around the world, then I think some time off class would probably be understandable, and I think most people wouldn't be going to class if it started. Look, if it rained scorpions, I'm sorry, I'm not showing up to class that day or any day. That's like a moment where a lot of people are going to be spending almost all day in church if it rains scorpions. If it rains scorpions and it has a blood red moon right after it, come on now. Okay? You think people are going to be like, but I got to do my paper. No, nobody's going to think that. Now, again, if this is like stuff that they don't really know and the charmed ones are seeing it because they're magic and stuff, well, then that makes sense. Doesn't make sense the rest of it. Just saying. Sorry, I gotta drink some water. Last live stream, I didn't have a water with me, so I was like, so I was coughing everywhere, and then I felt bad. So I brought water this time. See, I learn, y'all. I learn. So where are we here? Macy wakes up. Okay, no. Okay, so that's where I'm at. Okay, so then Josefina comes to Mel and says, I just made this like thing called the Bruja's ladder. It's a magical knot that can be used to neutralize a person's power. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then she's like, and I want to help. And Mel says, no, you can't help. And I'm like, damn, like, wouldn't a fourth in this rotation be good? Like, again, if you're dealing with more than one monster an hour, wouldn't it be helpful if you had a fourth in there? And it's not as if she doesn't know magic. She just doesn't have powers. You know, those types of powers that you guys are barely ever freaking using anyway. So anyway, Harry's like, Josefina can probably help. You should probably let her. Anyway, hey, by the way, Mel was really like was really pretty in this episode again. So she was really pretty a few episodes ago, and in a few episodes I was like, I'm not in it. And then like she's really pretty in this episode again. That's a whole thing. I don't even know why. I don't know. Maybe it's lighting, camera angles. I don't know why. Anyway, so Harry tries to heal Macy, who got like infected or not infected. Well, I mean, it ended up being kind of a poison thing, but she ends up getting injured with her encounter with the centipede demon, and she gets set off because he gets too close because he wants to heal her. And then like, it's a frustration. It's this frustration from like the whole season of not being able to touch each other. And it's really grinding on her. And again, I completely understand that. So as she leaves to go home, she goes home to bandage herself, and we're shown that there's like this weird like stuff dripping from her knife that stabbed the demon at the beginning, and it's making a puddle underneath it, and then like it becomes like a little itty bitty centipede demon. And I was like, but wait a minute, like, well, I mean, I guess they're not trained samurai, but this is why, as a samurai, you would never sheath a dirty blade. You would always clean it off and then put it away. You never put it away with gunk on it. But she's not a trained samurai, so I guess that's fine, I guess. But still, like, you clean off your stuff. I'm just saying, if you stab something and it's got goop all over it, you clean that stuff off. You find a hose. She was in an alley. There was probably a hose back there. Anyway. Hey, Chef Carter. And hello to Gemini Twins. I should probably say hello to you as well. You guys are having a fun conversation in the chat. I'm gonna go through it, and just like normal, I'm gonna go through a lot of my notes here, and then I'll jump back and I'll hit the chat. So Maggie goes after a monster, and oh, that's the thing. So she becomes addicted to her own power, which I love because she has the emotion manipulation. So whenever she's scared or tired or whatever, she just goes boom, and then she's got like energy and she's like fearless and stuff. And I'm like, see, that is a really cool use of your power that obviously will end poorly. So I wish that we had let that one breathe a little bit because I feel like that's the kind of like character progression and like storyline that could be really interesting for the growth of Maggie. But to see that it like we see it in the beginning and then it's resolved by the end, I mean, it makes it not as interesting. I think that is what we're missing. Like season 2 had way too many super long threads and storylines, but like in season 3 now we're kind of losing any, and they're kind of taking these pretty cool ideas and they're kind of playing with them, but then they're just leaving them behind and they're not doing anything with them. So like this one that's a big one. Use it because having that emotional power and being able to even control yourself, that's a huge deal. And God, it was just so cut short. It was just cut short, which is exactly what Charmed Power Babe just said because it just popped up, and that's why I used the term cut short because I just saw you say it. The magic abuse had great potential and it was cut short. And not to say like it has to do the same thing that Willow did or whatever. It doesn't have to send her to the brink and then she has to go cold turkey or anything like that. But I still think it would have been an interesting exploration of her powers and her relationship to her powers. Anyway, I liked it though. I think it's cool. I just wish that they would have used it over the season and not just in a single episode and it's resolved at the end. So Mel finds hold on. Oh yeah, so Mel ends up having to go and fight this demon that, Josefina was not allowed to come and help with, and it's digging in the trash, and then it turns around and it had amazing makeup. I just want to say that. It had like the makeup or the CG or whatever. These demons, they have a great demon budget this season, and I thought that it looked amazing. So she blows it up because that's her power. But then 2 lights appear in the sky, and then these 2 people with like voices that if they reminded me a lot of like Black Bolt from the Inhumans, where if he goes, it like sends a shockwave and can like, there's a story in the Inhumans comic where like he shouted and like destroyed a planet. Like it's like that's how powerful he was, and that's kind of the first thing I thought of when these 2 people that we now know are called the Perfecti show up, and they're like, and yeah, Mace, Mel's like, you're hurting my ears. Anyway, so she runs. She's like, she like throws the thing and jumps through the portal, and it doesn't close, and they come in with her. And I was like, oh no. So she throws the rope at them that Josefina made, and it ties them up. And I was like, okay, hey, isn't that interesting? It's the that's the rule of screenwriting. It's like if in the script it says that there's a gun on the mantle in Act 1, it has to go off by Act 2. That's just how writing works. So of course, as soon as they introduced this cool knot that can take powers away from somebody, I was like, oh, so they're gonna have somebody that they're gonna need to take powers over, and it's a rope, so they're gonna hold somebody hostage or something to that effect. And then that's what happened because the Perfecti come and she uses the thing and it ties them up and bam, it's done. But honestly, I thought that was like super cool because they cast a containment spell on the Perfecti, and then they're just like, this doesn't do anything to me. So he like they zap Harry's brain, and then she uses the rope on him, and I was like, yes. So then we cut back to there was a lot of jumping around in this episode. Then we jump back to Maggie, who finds a demon, and it's a doppelganger, so it's copying her and has the same baton and everything, fights just like her, but it's just like anything. It's like it's everything. It's like any of those like bad guy fighting yourself sort of thing, because it's like it's better than her at everything. So it disarms her. She finds out she lost her marble, so she can't just run back, and her powers aren't working to remove the fear, probably because she's so overcome with fear. So she just books it and she runs away. And I was like, you know what? Probably should have done that in the first place. So good job, Maggie. Run for your life, Maggie. So Macy's injury seems to get worse, and then she passes out from being poisoned, is what I'm guessing. They never really clarify it, but I guess it's poison. And then Mel is left alone because she can't get a hold of Macy. She can't. Maggie's gone. Josefina's not there, and it's just her and Harry who got zapped, who got brain zapped. But she goes to try and heal him, and then he wakes up, and you find out that he's not a white lighter anymore. And I'm like, whoa, that's pretty cool. I was like, they sucked his powers, and now he can be human. So Josefina, though, is ecstatic because she's like, my rope worked. And I'm like, yeah, that was good. Great little Deus Ex Machina. Good job. But she's got a one-track mind. Okay, so this is why my thumbnail says, I make bad decisions. Because, Mel's like, well, okay, so we don't know what these demons are. And then she's like, well, and Josefina's like, well, if they can take powers away, then maybe they can give powers. It's just like, really? That's the first idea that you have? The first thing that you think that they can do would be to give you powers, not, oh my God, they came into the command center and they might kill us. No, okay. I see where your mind is, I guess. But I just don't get it. And she says the line, well, if I had powers, then I could finally start to pitch in around here. And I'm like, look, lady, you've been here for a week. Like just a week. That's all you've been here for. And it's like, okay, you haven't been able to pitch in. You know why? Because we told you not to. So you're not convincing us with this. There is no finally. If you've been here for a month, maybe. If you were just here for a month and we kept asking you to do stuff and then you kept saying no, then sure, you finally will be able to pitch in when you get powers. But like, we're telling you we don't want your help. Anyway, I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't get it. So Mel and Harry, they decide to split up and search for Macy and Maggie, leaving Josefina with the demons, with these demons, guys, with the same demons that she literally just said that she was completely desperate to make a deal with. And then this one was like so transparent in the way that this episode was written. So of course Mel says like, don't do anything. And then of course she immediately does something. It's just so annoying. But of course we jump away from that before we actually know what happens. So Harry finds Macy passed out. He uses a potion to wake her up, and that heals her wound as well. And they have a cute moment where they kiss, and it was nice. And actually I saw a few people saying like, oh, if I hadn't been able to touch my man for a while, then it would have been so much more than a kiss, and we would have kissed so much more. And I think that's the point of this scene, is that when they have the moment, it is kind of more just a passionate kiss of love, and it's not, we can't wait to rip each other's clothes off. And I think that is the makings of actual love and not just like a lust type situation. So I thought that was actually kind of sweet. Call me a romantic. So Mel goes after Maggie, finds her baton, calls for her, followed by a screen. Mel bunks the demon, which is a doppelganger, and then they find out, well, if there's two of us together, we can defeat it. Yay! And so they do. Josefina, going back now, because of course it jumps around. Josefina is like, I think that they're here to help, so I think I'm gonna let these demons go. And I'm like, what? So it turns out they're connected to the tablet, which is obvious. She lets them go, and I noticed that the woman looks a lot like Kellyanne Conway, and but like a prettier Kellyanne Conway. So that's not an insult to her. Just she has an interesting look. But then Mel and Maggie, wait, where are we? Yeah, Mel and Maggie have a conversation about power abuse. But like, it's weird that they are scared that they're not doing enough. Like, they keep having this conversation. Like, I feel we need to, like, as women, we need to be able to ask for help. And like, we get this lesson. It felt a bit forced. Like, it was a nice lesson. It was good, but I don't think that this was the moment for that. Like, yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it. I didn't get it. Um, so Macy and Harry, they find everyone in safe space, dead or passed out, because it's the Perfecti are like sucking everybody's brains away, which is of the first thing that I thought. But then Josefina is just like, no, you can't kill them, otherwise it's going to kill everybody. Everybody, we're screwed if you kill them. Uh, so okay, so we find out that these two beings, Aladria and Mo, which Mo really, this come on, um, they are the Perfecti, and they are there to help. And they were sucking people's brains, but they weren't like sucking the brain. They were like borrowing their memories and their knowledge, which was one thing that I really liked, because when they started talking to the Perfecti, they talked very modernly. And since they were sucking the brains of so many like younger people, they were like, yeah, totally. It was like they were totally using like all of these like modern terms, and you're like, why would they be talking like that? And it's just like, oh, obviously, because that's the minds that they were kind of reading. I guess I should say reading and not sucking. But they do turn Harry back into a white lighter, much to his chagrin, because he was like, oh, yeah. Anyway. So yeah, where am I in my notes here? Power abuse. Okay. No. Okay, so it is pretty much what I had said. I had said this like months ago. I had said that the reason why like all of these demons are coming back is because these demons existed like before history. So that means that like way, way back in the day, like all of the magical people took these monsters and probably sealed them away. This was before we even knew that there was a tomb of chaos or whatever. And it turns out it's right. So we get the story of all of the magical beings back in the day invested some of their energy to create these two beings called the Perfecti, and it was the Perfecti's job to round up the demons and seal them away, and they ended up sealing themselves away with the demons as well. So now they're back, and they're like, oh my god, it was so weird because the charmed ones weren't even responding to them the way that I would have responded, because they keep going like, don't worry, we're here, we'll take care of it. And like not one of them was like, look, we're the charmed ones, like you can come and help us, but like seriously, no, you're not going to, like, because they kept acting like they're like, oh, we're here and we're going to rule the world. It basically was the vibe I was getting. It really felt like kind of like an Injustice Superman sort of thing, if anybody knows the Injustice Superman line, which was the like, I am here and I'm better than all of you, which means I know better and I am going to make you follow my example. So that's the vibe I was getting from them. They seemed very helpful. They seemed very happy to send the charmed ones away somewhere. Who knows what's going to happen when they come back? Anyway, so that's just my thing. So what I see is that, I don't know. I think that because they even say like, we're gonna go ahead and take over the fight against these demons. It's fine, which to me means it's gonna be like a double psych out, right? Because they introduced them and they made us think that they were bad guys, and now they're gonna tell us that they're good guys, and then I think they're gonna end up being the bad guys in the end. So that's just my thought. I'm just saying. That's just my thought. Uh, I think that they're going to end up being the big bads by the end of this season, because I think that they're going to help get rid of all the obvious threats. And then when they're done, they're going to be like, yeah, but we don't feel like sealing ourselves back up. I think we're going to hang out and we're just going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and cleanse the world because I feel like it needs it. Like it's going to be that sort of thing. So anyway, they say that they can remove the allergies from the charmed ones, and the charmed ones are like, yes, let's do that. What will it take? What will be the side effects? It doesn't matter. We're just so desperate to be able to touch people. Let's do it. So I'm like, okay. Maggie makes an appointment with a therapist. Okay. Harry. Oh, okay. So, and this was like near the end, right? When they were setting us up for like the big kind of ending. Like, Harry's like bringing like teleporting around and bringing the flower, bringing stuff to Macy, and she goes, "Oh, somebody's enjoying having their powers back," and I'm like, he literally like didn't have his powers for like an hour or two. Like, what are you talking about? What are you even talking about? I guess somebody. It's like, what? It wasn't that long. It was a dumb line. Okay, sorry. It was a dumb line, and it didn't make any sense within the context. So I didn't like that scene. I really liked the rest of the episode, by the way. And honestly, I liked the rest of that scene. It was actually kind of cute. I just didn't like that particular line. But it turns out that the Perfecti can't bestow magic, but Mel has made a new book of shadows, and her and Josefina are going to work on it together. And I actually really like this idea. And I'm honestly wondering why, like, they hadn't done this in the past. I don't remember the original Charmed ones, and I'm sure you guys can tell me. But in the original series, I don't remember them ever saying like, "Oh, we're going to start our own Book of Shadows." It was always like, "Let's consult the Book of Shadows and see what every witch before us had done," not "Let's make our own." Like, I don't know. It seems like that's something that they should have done already. I would have already been doing that. So I like the new Book of Shadows idea. I think that that's a really cool idea. And then at the end, we have curing the allergy may cost them their lives. Even if they survive, there may be side effects. They're like, blah, whatever it takes. And they go through a portal. The episode ends. And we know that we're not going to get another episode for at least another couple of weeks or whatever. So did I like this episode? Yes. I actually really liked this episode. I thought that it flowed really well. It was a bit predictable. Like a lot of the stuff that happened in this episode was, just telegraphed on a giant billboard sign to tell you exactly what the next thing that was going to happen. I was not surprised by anything in this episode, except for the fact that the Perfecti ended up being good guys. But now, just again, for the record, anybody who's here, I am predicting that they will also then end up being the bad guys in the end. So we will see what ends up happening. But overall, I really liked it. There were some good Hasty moments. There was some good bonding between the sisters. The effects and the makeup for the demons was really good. We got some new interesting characters. There's a lot going on in this episode, and it was a lot. Like, I wish that this episode would have been extended a bit more. I wish that they could have used maybe 2, possibly 3 episodes of them tracking down all of the different demons and fighting them, and them, like, I wish that we didn't just do 6 days later, they're exhausted. I wish that we would have been able to be there with them on their journey to that exhaustion. We could have then used that time to extend the drug analogy for Maggie. We could have used that time to really flesh out, the level. Like, I would want like the power level of the demons that they're fighting to keep, growing, and, again, to have us feel there was not a whole lot, but there was some like tell don't show in this episode, which you have to have when it comes to time jumps. Sometimes you just have to have somebody say, yes, and we've been doing this for 6 days, and this is how many demons we fought, and blah, blah. Like, you have to have that sort of thing. But at the same time, I think it would have been even more powerful if we were with them when they were doing all of these things. That said, great episode, actually. It focused a lot on the Charmed ones. There was no Jordan. There was no Abby. There was very little Harry. And overall, I think that it did a really good job. This was a great episode. I'm glad that they ended it on this one. Kind of, I guess we're calling this kind of a mid-season thing. But I know that, we're having a shortened season this season anyway. But I liked this episode. I'm excited to see what happens when it comes back, is I guess what I'll say. So I'm gonna hit some of these comments, and let's see what you guys are saying. I hate how Macy is constantly hurt this season. Well, is she? Is she constantly hurt? I think it's more that her frustration and stuff like that is just, it's manifesting. But also Maggie was hurt in this episode too. So it's not like it's just Macy getting hurt. Maggie was hurt in this episode. I guess Mel's the only one that wasn't hurt in this episode, actually. Mel got out pretty good. Everybody else got their brain sucked or got attacked by a demon. So good on Mel. Good job, Mel. Gemini Twins, this is your first live stream. Well, welcome. I'm glad that they didn't call Abby or Jordan since they need to start being more independent. Yes, and I think that they've also set it up. Like, they finished Jordan's storyline. There's literally zero reason for them to ever have Jordan back on the show as much as I want them to have. They finished his storyline, and Maggie's already said it's the year of me, so she's not looking to hook up with him. So he can be gone for a few episodes. Abby, on the same note, they're not going to call Abby for help because Abby's going to say no, because they've been assholes to to Abby. So, and she's doing her own thing. I think it was good. I agree. I think it was good for them to not call them, but I don't think it's for the independent reason for me. I think it's because I think that if they had called them, I mean, it's the same thing, right? Because Josefina has, she can do spells and stuff. She doesn't have powers, but she can do spells. But then at the same time, they're like, no, you're not prepared for it. Well, then, yeah, definitely don't call Abby or Jordan. Abby, who you don't trust for some reason, and Jordan, who's just a dude. So it wouldn't make much sense to call either of them. All right, yeah. So, and then you kind of said they only call Abby when it's demon related, which arguably this is. And then Jordan has no fighting skills, which is not true. He was in the military. He's a fighter. He can fight. He's good. So let's see here. I didn't understand why Maggie was going out fighting. Her active power is being an empath. Well, her active power is being an empath, but she also has predictive precognition, which means if there's a fight going on, she will predict her opponent's moves, which is why she has the baton. And if it's a demon that is, I guess, weak against batons, then she can pretty much take him out. She also has the ability to manipulate emotions. So literally, she could make whatever demon that they're fighting their friend. She hasn't tried that yet, but she could literally be like, this one doesn't like us, and she'll be like, now it does. So there's some powers, because it's not just being an empath. She has emotional manipulation that she can do. Now, not emotional manipulation, that sounds emotional control, I guess we'll use. I don't know, but anyway, I guess that would be the reason. Yeah, maybe because there's no elders, personal gain doesn't matter. And that could be the case, but is that the case? I mean, whenever they used it for personal gain, it wasn't the elders punishing them. It was the universe punishing them. So maybe the elders, I don't know. Hey, Jed, good to see you. I think season 3 is better than season 2, but I need more fleshed out storylines. Season 3 has been better in terms of tone, I think. Season 2 was very dreary and kind of took away from, I think, what we all kind of go and watch Charmed for. So they're kind of back to the more cheery stuff, except for this episode. This episode was a little bit of a downer. But I think on the whole, I think they're definitely going back on track. So let's see. But you're right, though, in terms of fleshed out storylines, they have been pretty episodic this season. But that is just what it is. Theme of the episode for me: desperation leads to bad decisions. Yeah, I mean, kinda. I don't know if it would be that's the core moral, but I would say that's definitely one of them. Let me see. I wish they would give Macy back her old personality. I get that she is in a bad place, but still, all the focus is on Harry. We get it that they are in love. I think it's less that they're in love, so that's the only focus, but she wants to touch somebody. And I'm hoping that now that she at least got a moment where she could touch Harry, that she will be able to now focus on other things. And even in just the final scene of that episode, you could tell that giving them at least that one moment together, they're already happier and they're more content to hold out for the actual cure itself now. So again, I'll be happy when this whole thing is not necessarily the storyline for Macy anymore, but I understand where she's at in her own journey as well. It's not a good place. Let's see. Josefina is just like how Paige was behaving in season 4. Piper told her not to get near the creep house, and Paige did it anyway. Well, I mean, that's just kind of like that's kind of any show. Like you have to have a character that gets told not to do something and then they do it. I do a lot of role playing, like tabletop RPGs, and like my character is always the one to hit the button nobody told them to hit, and it's because it makes for good storylines. So it's like, well, I mean, why would you put a button in the scene if no one's supposed to touch this button? Why is there a button? This button needs to be pushed. I think I'm going to push the button. And then I would just push it and then it'll be done. So, you can talk yourself into a lot of things. I think for me, there was this one. Yes, Gemini twins. There you go. She's a little too desperate to get powers, which makes her smell of betrayal down the line. That's exactly where I'm going with that. She seemed to be so single focused that means that she's either going to make a bad decision that's going to turn out bad for everybody, where this Perfecti one could have been that. It turns out that they were good guys, which will then later on be bad guys again for my prediction. So it turned out that they were good for the moment. But what if they weren't? Then she'd be dead. Like, it's just like, that's just it. Because she was trying to find a reason to let them go. Not necessarily, it's basically those people who already have the conclusion and then they work their way back up to their conclusion after the fact. They're like, well, it's like people who believe that the earth is only 6,000 years old. Like, they believe that the earth is 6,000 years old, and they believe that because usually because of the Bible and whatnot. So they're like, let me find things in science that point to my conclusion that I already have, as opposed to taking anyway. I'll stop because I don't want to piss off any like flat earthers or young earthers who might be watching my channel, because they're out there. Yes, Kellyanne E. Conway. Yes. Yeah, I don't know. She kind of looked like Kellyanne Conway. And again, it's not an insult. Let's see. Why wouldn't Macy get backlash for abusing her powers for her own personal gain? I don't see her using it for personal gain at this point. So if you can point out to me where she's using it for personal gain, and then I'll be able to answer that one. The Harry and Macy thing reminds me of Piper and Leo, when Leo gets taken by the Angel of Destiny, where Piper wants nothing but to get back with him. And when she does, she loses him again and then finally gets him. So there's that. I always did like Leo. Anyway, I thought that she looked like Kate McKinnon on SNL. That could be a great skit for her. I agree. I don't know if the Charmed reboot is popular enough to be interesting for an SNL audience. I don't know, but maybe that would be interesting. Yeah, Perfecti name alone is suspicious. Exactly. Yeah, in short, I think that the Perfecti are inherently good, but and I think that they are. I think that they even said it, like, they were created for a purpose. And yeah, after that purpose is done, are they just going to fall in line again, or are they going to just be like, nah, you set us free, we're good now? What do you think that Josefina's power will be? I feel like it will be astral projection. I think we had this discussion in the last one. I don't know. So far, we know two things about her personality: that she is completely willing to use magic without truly knowing the consequences of it, and that she is desperate for powers. So, I don't even know. I would say that if anything right now, her power would be I don't know. Oh my gosh. It might be something similar to possibly like I don't know, poison ivy. Maybe like pheromones to like affect your emotional state. I mean, I know that's really close to Maggie, but I don't know. That's what I'm picking up from, her personality right now is desperate. But you know what, she does have, she has the qualities of being able to see good in people, right? So like I guess we could say that that's like her, if they really wanted to go this deep, they could say that her ability to kind of communicate with the Perfecti, even though they weren't even speaking the same language, could be because maybe she can see auras or something to that effect, possibly. So if that's the case, then that could be interesting. Reading auras. Maybe maybe that's it. Okay, we worked it out. It's gonna be reading auras, maybe. Let's see. Why didn't the Guardian, the CC, know what would happen if they combined the source and the tree? Well, she did. She said if you combine. Well, no. Okay, so the Guardian herself, she I don't think that she knew what was going to happen, but also she was kind of gone before anybody got to know anything. Not everybody knows everything. It's okay. Maybe the Guardian came after the Perfecti had already taken all the demons and sealed them away. Maybe the Guardian had nothing to do with them. Like everything doesn't have to be connected. Like that's, I don't know. That's the thing. Like it's always, whenever you get these kind of universes, it's kind of like, you think every witch knows every other witch. It's just like, no, they don't all know each other. Same thing with cosmic beings. Every cosmic being doesn't know each other. All right, I don't know. Maybe that's stupid. Let's see. The question is, who and how are these monsters getting out of the prison? Well, I mean, they unlocked the prison by combining the tablet, which now we know the tablet being in separate pieces and stuff was actually like, that was a good thing because putting it all together and then reading from it opened the gates. And that's why, and again, that's why this is sus, because literally, the Perfecti were like, oh, and we're so happy to be out. And that's why I'm saying they're not going to want to go back in afterwards. So, I think the Charm Ones were so happy that they could stop hunting the monsters. The Perfecti has so much power, so much more power than them to put the monsters back into the tomb. And that's true. I think though, it's kind of like those like movies and stuff where you have like the cops and they're doing a good job, but you can tell like they're doing a good job on the case and fighting the bad guy, but then you can tell that their resources are running dry, and then that's the moment that the FBI comes in and says, we're taking it over, it's under our jurisdiction right now. And then you're just like, who are these guys to take our case? And yes, they have more resources and they can probably take care of it more efficiently, but we were already the ones on the ground handling this, and we have all of this wealth of information and experience dealing with these things that they're not going to have. And that's the thing is, right, then the Perfecti are like, yeah, so we'll take care of it, don't you even worry about it. We're going to send you now away to go go cure the allergy. So they're literally saying, no, kids, you can go and do your thing, and then we'll take care of it. It's fine. We'll totally just be completely good guys while you're gone. It'll be wonderful. You'll love it. You'll see what happens when you come back. Let's see. The Perfecti might have a vision for how their world should be, but it will probably end up with destroying the world as we know it, or some purge going down. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, they're going to be like, yeah, we've decided that all the demons should all die. All the witches should probably die too. And all of the other magical creatures all need to die. And we'll just encase everybody because there's really just too much. And I think that, it's going to just be, it's going to be that. But they're good guys for now. Yay. Let's see here. What do you all think of the Book of Shadows? Oh, yeah, I like it. I think I had said that. Yeah, I like it. It's fine. It's the beginning. They just started it, so it's not going to be that big of a deal. Let's see. Hey, I bet Marisol had a baby boy in Puerto Rico and left him for her family to raise, hence Josefina. No, it's probably no. They're cousins. It's fine. Like, I mean, why? It just that seems like that's like there's no reason for that. I mean, they've already established how they're related, like they're cousins. So I don't think that there's a need to then make it so that they're actually siblings. Why? She already hid one child. Why? It would make Marisol the worst person ever if she had also hid yet another child. So I would say no to that. Let's see. I think we should let Mel and Maggie get their old powers back first. I mean, I kind of dig them with their powers that they have right now. I think it's fine. I don't think that it has to follow the OG exactly down to like everything. So I'm fine with them having different powers. I even would like it if they got completely different powers. I said this a few videos ago where I was like, let's give Mel where she can make force fields. Let's let Maggie fly. Fuck, who cares? Like, let's have fun with it. Why does it have to be as close to the original as possible? We should take some risks and do something completely different. And yes, I know that that's what they were doing in second season. And it didn't necessarily work out all that well, but also, you know, you could make some better, different decisions, and it might be good. Let's see. Astral projection sounds awesome where magic does not affect her during that state. Ultimately cloning, but I really want that for Macy like Prue. Oh, okay. I think that astral projection is kind of interesting. But also the thing about astral projection, the classic astral projection power, if we're using it in terms of like superheroes and other magical things, is that yes, if you're astral projection, then physical things can't hurt you, but yes, definitely magic stuff can still affect you. So if you're astral projecting and you can't be affected by magic, that seems OP then at that point. Like you need to be able to be affected by something. That's just my point. So anyway, I think I'm going to call it there, guys. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me while we discuss episode 10. Again, I liked it. I thought it was good, and I think it was a good launching point for what we are going to be jumping into when the show comes back in a couple of weeks. So until then, I am probably going to be coming on and discussing a few other things this week and next week and the following week and whatever until we get back to Charmed again. But thank you so much, guys, for coming and hanging out with me. I have been your host, Aloy. This has been the Turnout. Thanks for showing.